Hello, and welcome to another edition of Friday Night Series, How to Pray. I'm your host, the Reverend Doctor. And tonight I want to start another section tonight. But let's talk about what we've been going over so far. We're talking about some of the mysteries of prayer. Some of the mysteries of prayer is that God only answers what you ask for. That's why I tell people, be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. Then some people want to know, well, if God already knows what we need, why do we have to pray? I say sometimes He still wants to hear you pray. We talked about whether some prayers are long or short, and there are prayers in the Bible. There are long prayers and there are short prayers in the Bible, and both of them are being answered. We talked about God listen to the prayer of people with questionable backgrounds. We talked about you can negotiate with God, reason with God. The best prayer or reasoning with God is Abraham when he was reasoning for Sodom and Gomorrah. We have that God answers prayers immediately. Sometimes He answers prayers right away, and sometimes there are some gap in time, but He will always answer your prayers. Hezekiah, his prayer was answered immediately. Daniel, his prayer was answered after 21 days. So you see, prayer is important in our lives. Well, tonight I want to start another section. Another section is what happens when we do not pray. What happens when we do not pray? Now, I'm not an expert, but I got some information here that, you make the decision. Says, what happens when we do not pray? Our life is directed by happenstance. Now, happenstance is defined as another word for chance, circumstances, good luck, bad luck, good fortune, misfortune, quirks, serendipity, and twists of fate. Happenstance that our lives. But then let's take a look at chance in our lives. What about human factors? Human factors are we've known, and things have come out that people have been cheating. They won by cheating. The other person, didn't run as fast, or the other person didn't do, and so they're saying people are being paid to do these things. There's instances out there, and they said that we realize that some matches are really already controlled by money. So there's some things that are controlled by money. It seems like it was a chance, but in actuality it wasn't, because the fate or the decision at the end was already determined. And a lot of that is done, and those things have come out in the news, about cheating scandals and people controlling the outcomes of games and things of that nature. So what happens is that, that sometimes things, they just, people come in last place just so that they can get demoted down to another level where they become superior in that level. The whole lot of things that are going on that we look and we think that they are by chance, but not. It is controlled by a human factor. And those things have been coming out in the news, cheating scandals and things of that nature. So we noticed that really it looked like happenstance. What it really is that it's already been determined. It's already been determined. It just looks like chance. It just looks like happenstance, when in fact it was controlled by a human factor. So a human factor governed that chance, and it made it look like it was a chance, but the outcome was already determined by a human factor. Spiritual factors. Now, spiritual factors we say can look like chance. Now, one of the things about spiritual factors that seem like a chance but it was determined from a spiritual factor, is the death of King Ahab. Now, in the Bible, in 1 Kings chapter 22, starting at around verse 19, we see the King Ahab. And when and there was a meeting in the spiritual realm, and the evil spirit was commissioned to get Ahab to go into battle so he could die. But it seemed like it was a happenstance, but it was already determined by the evil spirit. In 1 Kings 22, starting around chapter 9, verse 19, and he said, "Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And the Lord said, Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. And there came forth the Spirit, and stood before the Lord, and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, Thou shalt persuade him, and prevail also, go forth and do so. So now you see that now what looks like a chant is that the evil spirit was going to be a lying voice or a lying spirit in the mouth of the prophets, or the people that Ahab listened to. So now therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and the Lord has spoken evil concerning thee. And then the death of Ahab. What Ahab said to Jehoshaphat was, I'm going to go into battle, but I'm going in disguise. You wear your royal robes, you make it look like you're the king, and I'm going to go in battle in disguise. So he went into battle disguised. And the king of Aram told his men to go after nobody but the king of Israel. Well, when they saw Jehoshaphat dressed, they ran after Jehoshaphat. And Jehoshaphat cried out and said, wait a minute, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm not the king. And then they stopped. He said, but then somebody drew his bow and hit the king in between his armor. An arrow right between the sword. He got all this armor on, but there was a spot that he could not, that was not covered, and the arrow hit that spot. The arrow hit that spot. So they said that the blood, they propped him up in his chariot, and he got him out of there, and he's been wounded, and he bled to death, and he died. So now do we call that good luck or bad luck on his part? What do we call that? We say it was by happenstance. It was by chance, but it wasn't. It was controlled by an evil spirit. That bow and that arrow to go right between the armor, we call that luck. Just bad luck on King Ahab's part. But it was not. But it was not. It was all orchestrated. That it looked like chance, but it was all orchestrated by evil spirits. So when we don't pray, then our lives are governed by human factors and spiritual factors. Evil spirit factors. So we have to be careful that we don't end up not praying. and leaving things to happenstance. Because if we leave things, as we say, to happenstance, then there's a human factor that comes into play, and there's an evil spiritual factor that comes into play. So we don't want to do that. So let's get on the prayer train. Let's minimize human factors, and let's minimize evil spirit factors, and pray. And pray. We realize what human factors will do when we don't pray. Our lives are governed by human factors. And we think it's by chance, and it's not. Somebody, somewhere, has got it out for you, as they say. Well, then, there's an evil spirit also. That here we see one of the best, in the Bible, one of the best things about the evil spirit is the death of Ahab, where it made it look like it was by chance that King Ahab would go into battle. But the evil spirits put that lying spirit in the mouths of the prophets, the people that he listened to. So they were lying to him. That, yeah, go in their disguise and they won't know who you are. So he goes into battle, disguised, and he still died in battle. His life was controlled by an evil spirit. So our lives, when we continue to pray, is that we must understand that our lives, without prayer, without a praying spirit, will be left over to human factors and evil spiritual factors. But it looks like chance. It looks like happenstance. It looks like bad luck. Looks like good luck. Looks like twist of fate. However you want to call it. It's because that's what happens when you do not pray. That's what happens when you do not pray. So we got to get on the prayer train. Well, this has been another edition of Friday Night Series, How to Pray. And I'm your host, the Reverend Doctor. And I always sign off by saying, if you're too busy to pray, you're too busy. May God have mercy on our soul.